Welcome back to another painting session. I'll be doing a tutorial for today's video, and not just any tutorial. I'll be teaching you all how to make the sky, some comets, birds, but most importantly mountains, all in spray paint. Now if you just give me a moment, I'm going to get some brushes that we'll be using today. Let's take some of this and those. Alright. So, give me a moment. Alright, so the types of brushes you'll be using doesn't have to be anything particularly insane or elaborate. You don't need that much of high-end things to make art with spray paint. So just flathead brushes or just flat chisel type brushes, those type of things. See, like this one? This is what usually you're going for. This and smaller variants is what we will be using today. Let me just clean some of these real quick. Now to clean these, you just use some acetone, and then it melts away any of the paint that is on there, lickety split. But with further ado, I will show you what colors we'll be using today. Mainly, we'll be using blues, midnight blue, navy blue, deep blue, oasis blue, and ocean mist. I know my cans aren't the cleanest. That's because I use them quite a bit. But for the blues, that is what we'll be using. I will be using the oasis blue to make the skies, the darker blues to have the shadow of the mountain, and the light blues to combine with the white, gray, and blacks to have the tinting and shade of the mountains. So, but first we'll have to make that sky. And like I said, we'll start with the oasis blue. I only use one cap to reserve all my caps, as you can't really get more factory caps other than these. Comes one per can. So to alleviate some of the loss, of which these will eventually be used up if it gets clogged, if you use them too much, and so on, I simply just use one cap for all of my cans in a color scale. Either I use one cap for reds, one cap for blues. I don't really intermingle unless I'm using a lot of them at the same time. But you just take them off very easily and put them on the other one. Simple as that. But for the skies, it's very simple. Just press this down, make sure it's not going to move. Just spray to the sky, to the upper portion where you want the sky to be. Now you could leave some gaps of color like here to have some illusion of clouds. Or you could just have a completely flat image here. But this is fine, you don't have to do a lot. The center point of today's video, of course, is mountains, so I won't focus a lot on the space or even the sky, as sky is fairly simple. You just need one or a few more colors. If you're doing a gradient, you're going to need more, but that's not what we're focusing on today. If you would like to see more about how to make skies, planets, something I will not be going into in this video, then I do heavily recommend anything that any other tutorials that I have done that do include both of those, which will be attached up to the top right. But next up, we will be focusing on that mountain. I'll be painting a few small but tall mountain range. I'll be mixing some black and midnight blue, the darkest blue you can get in Rust-Oleum. The brand, of course, that Rust-Oleum being the brand. Mix it enough so it looks like this, a very dark black and blue. Now I don't use a palette, I just use a spare piece of newspaper, same type of newspaper I use to texture my planets. There's no shame in that. If you would like to use some newspaper, cardboard, a real palette, it's just you to decide. Doesn't really affect much. The palette is reusable, a newspaper is simply disposable. Think of using glass and paper plates. Kind of like that. So what I'm doing now is getting some paint on the brush, sweeping away so it's not that heavy. Now notice where my hand is. Now I'm not a classical artist by any means, but just the hand movement, it's fairly simple depending on what type of brush and what type of angle you're doing. Something like this, just calm and steady. Like the brush do the work. You don't have to do an elaborate type of shape. Just make sure that the mountain is fairly rugged, but very slender. Just like that. A bit more. Let's have a little bit of outstretching here. Just like that. And let's give it a little partner in crime to the right. Just like that. We'll have this guy go down parallel to this, but it's gonna go over. So I'm just making the frames of, or the outline of these mountains. Let's extend the top here. Let's make this a bit taller. There we go. This one likewise. There we go. Now if you choose to paint alongside me, or if you just choose to watch, both are equally as fine. But if you do paint alongside me and do make a painting out of this tutorial, then do please share it with me. Just have in the comment section below that you made a painting, and I would love to see them all. Alright, but back to this. Try to have your brush moving like this, parallel to the back side here. Because with this brush, as rough or as nimble as you will be with it, either or, you will still be making some lines where the brush is headed. These lines will serve as a directional type of guidance to the mountain. That meaning that it would look more like a slope, tumbling down and down. So instead of doing it like that, wiping it down, try to go parallel to the sides, extending those sides all the way to the center of this mountain. We'll do the same for up here. Now it doesn't really matter where you start, as of course going parallel to this side is going to have contrast to this one, but it does not really matter. So just whatever you want, and notice how I have a brush like this to make a point at the end. So I have a little bit of spikes here. You don't have to do that, but that's just how I'm doing it for this mountain. I do apologize for the chair, it's pretty rickety. It's getting more and more like that. Might have to get a new one. Might have to let it retire. But anyway, back here is going to be a bit darker later on. I'm just having it like this, just to have the frame. Okay, onto the second mountain. Guy right here, partner in crime. We're gonna have, for this one I'm gonna make it much darker. Okay, Okay, make that extended enough so it will cover that side. There's a bit of excess paint. And with spray paint, the more you use, the more it is likely that the bottom color, that being Oasis Blue, is going to seep in or through. You see those pockets of that? I'll cover it later on, but it's just something to note. Okay, same as before, I'm going to spike up the brush and make the sides for the right. The down slopes. Slopes that will be facing the bright points. When I say bright point, I just mean where the light is coming from, which would be up here. Now I know it's gonna be hard to get that around your head because the sun isn't there, rightfully so. But once we get the tint on there, it would all make sense. It all look much, much more natural. Okay, there's a bit here. Doesn't have to look perfect the first time around. We'll cover up all the mistakes later on. So now we have that. I'm going to use a different brush, this one, to take care of the back. I'm just going to have black for this one. Take care of the back mountain, the one that is taking priority. Put this through the acetone to clean it a tiny bit. Alright. Just being gentle with the brush. You don't have to be rough with it. You don't have to force the paint on there. Just let the brush do all the painting for you. You are just guiding it with your hand. Okay. A bit more, and we'll have this side done. I'll cover up some of the spikes, but I will cover them back up. Now in the back I will, or on the bottoms of these mountains, I will have a little bit of mist and then a little lake. That is the plan for this particular painting. Not a lot of trees, not a lot of foliage, just a simple mountain and a lake. Simple as can be. I do plan to go more in depth in other tutorials, but for this one I'll keep it simple. Okay, I think that one is fairly good. On to the other planet, well not planet, mountain. Okay. Now, even though this is the second planet, it is in front of the other one, this one. That will add depth and character to your landscape, even if you don't have to make 3D objects. Everything in a painting is 2D, unless if you look at the molecular things, but I'm not going to talk about that much. Everything is 2D in a painting. It's simply how you make those 2D things that tricks us into thinking they're 3D, that they pop out, they seem real, even though they aren't. Sort of the magic, isn't it? tactile perception of things and how we could bend it just with a brush and some color. Okay, a bit more and I'll carry on to the tint. Okay, I'll cover up that mess here later on. Okay, I would take care of this side just to be sure. But you notice now that it's getting fairly dark. I mean the back sides, I mean. It's noticeable now, and I'm leaving some gaps that aren't. And that is to have depth in, or the the texture of the mountain, more rather. Not everything is just going to be a plain black. That would be fun. To be a plain mountain. Alright. Now we're going to add the tint. Worth making this brush first. Should I use a different one? This one should be fine. Alright, put this to the side. I'm going to bend this. No, I won't. I'll just use the other side of the newspaper. I was going to bend it so this dark color doesn't interfere with the bright. But it doesn't seem it's going to do that. I'm gonna have some blue and black for some foundation here. I'll make it a bit brighter with some grays. Okay. Now let's see how this works. Seems like it's the same color all the way on the mountain. Oh, well, my mistake. Well, I will extend it below, like that. Okay. Maybe a bit more over here. Maybe it is tinting it a little bit. As subtle as it is, it will lay the groundwork for more tinting and texturing for these stone giants. Now for this mountain in the back, the tinting won't go all the way down. It'll be still a bit dull, but this one will be much clearer. Now I'm going to add some whites and some very bright blues with the ocean mist. Just like that. Mix it in here. Just mixing a tiny bit with the grays, which I'm not particularly happy about. But it's fine, I'll change it later. Again, this is another groundwork. Here I had some texturing. In some of some of the places that it isn't going to reach, it's going to make little shadows that are going to seem like little boulders on this mountain. Now to add more depth, you could add more rock faces, like more mountains here over the shading, so you avoid any unneeded tangents. Yeah, kind of like this. Alright, now for this one, this mountain back here, it'll be a bit brighter. Like I said, not all the way down. And just there in the back, a little grading down to be less and less tinted, but still present nonetheless. Alright, now I'm going to fold this, and I'm going to make some simple white. White and a tiny bit of blue, but that'll be it. Alright, now let's add this. And little snow caps for these mountains. And this snow eases off the more altitude that you lose. So I'm going to lose the snow the more I go down, like that, but still have some visible streams, some pockets, like that. Back here, similar situation. As the tallest peak, it will have a bit more snow. That's why it's going to be a bit brighter. It's going to drop off fairly quickly. Just like that. And maybe I'll extend it down. There. Just like that. Add a bit more snow up top for the second one, and then I'll be finished with this. Unless there's any changes I need to do. Which I don't believe there is. You never know how a painting's going to look until you're done with it. Yeah, that looks about right. Okay. Now I'm going to have some clouds up top. It's going to start here, or it's going to finish off there. Here it is. And we'll use a different one this time. I'll use this one. Alright. Now with this is just a piece of paper that I cut out. You just tear it open and you have these little nooks and crannies that will make your mist, or your clouds in this case. Now I'm going to get one color. I'll give you a moment. This is going to be very bright gray. This will have the base of the clouds with white being on top. Yep, just like that. There's some isolated misting up here. Like that. Maybe a bit more merging on the sides. And one more up top. And one more here. That looks about good. Now I'm going to have the tinting for these little clouds. Like that. Alright, I'm going to have a bit more over here to share in that little puff of white. And a few more over here. A little more spray here. Top. And that looks about good. Maybe just one more here. Yep. Looks about good. Maybe I have a bit more white down here. Make it a bit more bright. And that looks about right. Yeah. Now I'm going to put this away and make the lake. Now to do this, you will need a paint divider like this. You need the painting, or the paint cans, as I have already used, and one glove. A plastic glove, a paint glove, whatever you prefer. Now place it here where the clouds meet to the blank space. I'm going to add the black and the grays, colors I will not be using for the lake. Make it parallel with the bottom, making sure it's not tilted or anything. I believe this one is not. Yep, it's tied on there. Now to make a lake, you have the deeper colors on the sides and the brighter ones in the middle. I won't use midnight blue, it's not that dark, but I will use navy blue. But don't use a lot of the dark colors, just enough. Use more of the light ones. This painting is in broad daylight after all. And try to use as much of the same sky color as you can to reflect the sky, like I am doing right now. And to finish it off, have one, have this to have the clouds reflected, one little beam of very bright light there. And then we just get a glove. You also need some gloss to make this already water as it is. Make it as fluid as possible to make that lake. Now, put the glove on. Whatever finger you're comfortable with, I will be using the middle finger. And just score it along, smearing the paint. You can have some little ripples if you want, little waves as your hand moves. And try not to have this move down as I just let it do. I'll make it better. I'll just show you how. But there is a way to remedy that. Try to press it down. Shouldn't be much of an issue now. Try to use a lot of gloss. You need this as fluid as possible. Of course, it all depends on what type of texture you want. If you want it to be more slathered on there, you want it to be wetter. If you want it to be a bit more textured, a bit more rougher, then don't use all that gloss. But this I'm perfectly fine with. Yep, that's all good. Now to remedy the issue, I'll have some white here and white on the bottom. Lift up and see, it's all good. Take the glove off like this, have the bottom lift up. Well, there's not much else I could add. This seems about right. The mountains in the back, the clouds, and the water. Though perhaps there could be some comets. I could have added some clouds in the back, but I think it's fine. Make your signature on the bottom right, or any corner that you wish, usually on the bottom. Left or right does not matter. And to peel this off, I'll have all of it gloss coated. Just like that. And maybe a bit more. Alright. Now I hope that you all have enjoyed today's painting lesson. I hope you have learned something valuable from today's video. I'm going to lift this up so you all may see it. Come on. I like that. Come on. I'm trying to turn it into a little taco so I can hold it a bit better. But I don't think it wants to do that. Anyway, it's fine. See? I'm bringing it up close so you all can see it. Yeah, that's it for today's lesson. The next one, I do plan to do perhaps maybe trees, more planets, clouds, far off trees, different type of mountain. But for this one, mountains and lake and a little bit of clouds, I think I did a decent job. But it all depends on how much you all learned. I could know how much you all have learned from today's lesson by commenting down below, liking the video, and ultimately subscribing to my channel to see more that I'm capable of. I post every day, mostly shorts, but I do that to have time to post my mainline videos like this one. But yeah, if you have enjoyed what you have seen, spray painting videos, tutorials, if you've seen my other works, you know that I do much bigger pieces than this in much more detail, though I don't do a whole tutorial on those. If you like what I do, then I would very much appreciate and love if all of you would subscribe to the channel, ultimately, but you could simply just like the video, comment what you like, what you didn't like about the video and the painting, and all of those things help me to become a better spray paint artist and a better video maker for these paintings. And with that out of the way, I hope again that all of you have enjoyed today's painting session and lesson, and until next time, whatever painting I may be making, I hope that all of you will accompany me on that video. Bye bye.